God, with each passing week, that song just becomes more and more of an uncertainty that that's ever going to happen with the way this team has been playing so far in 2022. Welcome to Stairway to 7, everybody. We are here at Week 4. It's been a couple of it's been a couple more days than usual because they played on Thursday night last week, and now here we are, just a day away from the Jets coming to town and playing the Steelers. And on paper, this looks like a game the Steelers should easily win because the Jets are not a very good football team. Zach Wilson is making his season debut after Joe Flacco has been in there for the last couple of weeks. The Jets are 1-2, so the Steelers. It's here at Pittsburgh. The home crowd will be there. On paper, this should be an easy win, but I mean, have you seen how badly this team has played in 2022 so far? I mean, not only that, but every year they have this one game. They have that one game where they should easily beat the opposing team, and they don't do that. Last year it was the Detroit Lions that came to town, and you saw how that happened. It ended with a tie. It's pretty much the same weather conditions as what's supposed to be tomorrow, but we'll get into that in just a second. But yeah, everybody is saying the Steelers will win this one, but I don't know. Like, usually I'd be on the positive on this. I'd say the Steelers are finally going to get it together. This is the stretch where Mike Tomlin usually has his win streak start. I mean, everything's going to come up Millhouse. But I don't know. This year, I've just come to the realization that as much as I can wish and hope for something to happen like that again, chances are it's probably not. It really probably is not going to happen. And really, I'm saying this just because of the way this team has played the last 3 weeks. I mean, the fact that Matt Canada still has a job to this point as an offensive coordinator is baffling to me. Like, you lost 2 easy winnable games against New England at home, and then against a team that you need to beat in order to have the division lead. Because now you just gave that away when you lost to Cleveland. I mean, they didn't even try. I know it's been more than a couple of days since then, but that's one's still going to hurt. And I mean, I guess the positive is that they don't have to play another divisional rival until the Bengals come to town in late November. But even then, is this team really going to be that good by that point to stay in the hunt? Right now, it doesn't look like it because T.J. Watt still isn't there. He won't be there for another couple of weeks. And really, there's no real sign that this offense is going to get any better. I mean, they showed signs at the beginning of the first half on Thursday night. But at the same time, though, they completely went back to the same routine that we've hated for the past 2 games in the second half. Like, they didn't even try to come back in that game until it was way too late to do so. And what makes me think that that's going to change anytime soon? I mean, there are no signs indicating that this is going to be any different. I mean, everybody's saying the Steelers will win this one because the Jets are so bad, but honestly, I can't do that to myself. I can't honestly look at this Steelers team as it is right now and say that they're going to win this game. I really do think the Jets are going to go into Pittsburgh and shock the Steelers. I know Zach Wilson hasn't played since last year, but at the same time, though, there is just nothing there that says that the Steelers team can beat the Jets. As bad as the Jets are, the Steelers don't even give themselves a chance to do anything because they don't do anything. Because they hardly do anything on offense. They can't throw the ball down the middle of the field for some strange reason. And the running game isn't working right now. They can only throw the people on the sidelines. And it's just like, I don't understand what their plan is. I don't know what the purpose of this plan that they have at the start of this season is. Like, I said it last week. It's like they're purposely trying to tank for a top draft pick next year. And Steelers don't usually do that. I don't understand why they're doing that, especially considering that the future of their franchise is already on their team, and yet nobody wants to put him in. I take that back. Everybody wants to put him in there, except for some reason Mike Tomlin doesn't want to put him in there. And it baffles me why not. Like, you're not playing well right now with Mitch Trubisky. Let Kenny Pickett come in there and play and see what happens there. It's not like you can't go back to Mitch Trubisky if something bad happens. I mean, that's what happened 3 years ago when you had Mason Rudolph start, and then Doug Hall just came in every once in a while. Like, why don't you just do that? And another thing that's going to hurt the fact that's going to be a factor in this game is the weather, because right now we've got the remnants of Ian right now. I was about to say Hurricane Ian, but it's the same thing. But Hurricane Ian, and we've got rain all day today. I was actually supposed to go to the pit gate tonight, but because of the rain, I didn't feel like I wanted to go out there and just sit out there when it's going to be raining hard all night, because it's supposed to be doing that. But that's another thing that I got to talk about too, because the Panthers play tonight at 8:00, and that game's going to probably go until, at the earliest, 11:30, at the latest sometime after midnight if something happens with overtime. So Steelers play at 1. That means the grounds crew has 13 hours to get this field together. Not even that, less than that, because they have to get the teams out there for practices on the field and all that. So yeah, you're looking at less than 10 hours between the time the Panther game ends to the time the Steelers play at 1. And you got to worry about the rain being a factor. I mean, take a look at this forecast. There we go. That's the rain total estimates for Sunday by the time 9 a.m. starts. And there is downtown Pittsburgh. That's where Acrisure Stadium is. And you kind of see what I'm talking about here. Look at all the heavy rain around here. And usually that would mean run the ball a lot. But really with the offense, I mean, I guess the offensive line right now isn't playing as badly as they were expected them to. But at the same time, they aren't playing like great. The only play, everyone's really giving them the positive notes because the offense has a whole badly, and really, it's a tough factor to really bring in here because we saw what happened in Week 1 when the Niners played the Chicago Bears, and the Bears were easily able to win that game because the Niners really struggled on both sides of the field with Trey Lance, and the rain was a huge factor, but yeah, that just has me worried going into this game. I really think the Jets go in there and shock everybody. I mean, it's not going to be like a high-scoring game. It's not going to be one where it's a complete shutout by any means necessary. But it's going to be one of those games where it keeps it very close, and that by the end, the kicker has either the kicker has a chance to win it on a field goal, or Zach Wilson pulls off a miracle at the end of the game. I just don't feel like the Steelers win this one. I don't think they win this one, and like I've said before, I really don't think they're going to win again until at least TJ Watt gets back or they make a change on either the offensive coordinator or the quarterback right now. That's just how I feel. I've had a couple of days to really reel in that loss to Cleveland, but nothing that I've seen so far suggests that the Steelers really are going to change unless Trubisky gets injured. The screen just went black for a second. That's what happened there. Unless Trubisky gets benched or Trubisky gets injured and Kenny Pickett gets a chance to come in or something happens, but there's just nothing there that really suggests that is indeed going to happen. So I am picking the Jets to win this one. I might be the only person that's going to think that, but I've watched this team long enough to know that this is the type of game that the Steelers usually tend to lose, like these games that should be easy wins, but just can't get it done. So that's who I think is going to win this game. Let's take a look at the other games from Week 4 and see where I stand on those. So last week I didn't really do too bad. I had 10 out of 16, which is only one down from what I had the week before. The predictions there, I did get the Bengals to win over the Dolphins. I think that was to be expected, but at the same time, I got to talk quickly about what happened to Tua. The Dolphins really screwed that one up because I have a feeling that they knew that he wasn't ready to go out there that quickly on Thursday night. And so when that happened to him, like that was just so despicable what they did with that. And apparently the doctor that they had there, the neurotrauma consultant who was with the team, the unaffiliated one from the NFL, got fired because of this, and really more heads need to roll from there. I'm not saying the coach needs to be fired or any Mike McDaniel. I don't think he needs to be fired for this, but I just feel like more people should be taken under punishment for that. And hopefully Tua Tagovailoa is going to play again, but right now, just get some rest, man. I mean, really, the Dolphins could probably still win with Teddy Bridgewater, quite honestly. But, I mean, we'll see what happens there. I really hope they don't put him back in there too soon. But, so, like I said, I did get the Bengals to win over the Dolphins. I think that was a foreseeable outcome because, let's face it, the Bengals needed to win. They needed to get back to 500. They needed to prove that the last 3 weeks were fluke. And the Dolphins, I mean, they're still a good team. But, like I said, the Dolphins, that was a game that I feel like they went in there kind of knowing that that was not going to be a win for them, at least in my opinion. But I have the Vikings over the Saints. They play overseas in London tomorrow morning. I have the Browns over the Falcons, although Myles Garrett's not going to play because he was in that car accident earlier in the week. I still think that the Browns go into Atlanta and take the Falcons down. Commanders, I actually have them over the Cowboys. I feel like Ron Rivera is going to get a win out of this one, even though Cooper Rush has been playing unusually well, which that's what really sucks about the situation with the Steelers right now with Mitch Trubisky. It's like Cooper Rush is an undrafted free agent that came into the Cowboys team, and he's been 3-0 ever since he's been the starter. And Mitch Trubisky can't even throw as much as Cooper Rush is able to do down the field. That's just, I don't get that, man. I don't know. I'm not going to go into too much more on that, but I have the Seahawks over the Lions. Lions actually have a couple of top wide receivers that aren't going to be there. DJ Chark and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I have the Titans over the Colts. I think the Titans, after that win last week over the Raiders, get another win there to get back to 500. I have the Giants over the Bears, even though the Giants also kind of don't have a whole lot of wide receiver help there. I don't know. I might change that. I don't know. I'm thinking about changing that one, but I'm going to keep it like it is right now. I think the Eagles do win over the Jaguars. I knew the Jaguars were going to beat the Chargers because I don't think the Chargers are that good right now with Justin Herbert injured and a lot of their key pieces not there right now. I don't know. I just don't think they're not as good. But Jacksonville, I thought was Jacksonville. I don't know. I don't think they're going to be enough to beat the Eagles, and I think the Eagles have a system set out where they know exactly what to do to win games. So I think I'm going to put Doug Peterson's former team in the loss column and the Eagles to win that one. As I said, the Jets over the Steelers, Bills over the Ravens. Last week the big loss to the Dolphins last week. I just feel like Bills are going to need a nice rebound game, and I think they could go to Baltimore and beat Baltimore there. I do have the Chargers beating the Texans, though. I don't think the Texans are that good of a football team right now, really. Cardinals, I think they get back on track over the Panthers. Packers over the Patriots, that one's kind of easy, especially now with Mac Jones not playing in that one. Raiders over the Broncos. I actually have the Raiders getting their first win over Denver. I feel like that 0-3 start this is a must-win game for the Raiders at this point. Chiefs over the Buccaneers. I just think the Chiefs are the better team right now over the Buccaneers. And then the Rams over the 49ers. So those are my picks for Week 4. And now here's the local media projections.
And we did that last week, by the way. I'm just reading what's written in the scripts here, by the way, Jerome.
Okay.
On the week, in the 7 games we picked, Albie and I both went 4 for 3. Jerome, you were right on the other side of 500 at 3 and 4. So I'm closing in on you a little bit here. You're not running away with it by any means. It's a long season, but hey, I'm 1 game back.
That's it.
Just 1 as it stands this week. Now, before we get to our picks of the week, let's hear from Bet Rivers ambassador Danny Parkins on his outlook for the best bets.
Thanks, guys. It's another tough week in the NFL with the point spreads. There are 12 games right now where the point spread is 3.5 or less. So a ton of toss-ups, as always, in the National Football League, including the Steelers right now, just a 3.5-point favorite against the Jets. But there's still opportunities to make some money. There's 2 games that I like so far. I think the Browns as a 1.5-point favorite against Atlanta. Jacoby Brissett continues to be undervalued in the market, and Nick Chubb has proven that he can run on anyone. And I think Atlanta looked a little bit more competent than they are facing a Seattle team that also is bottom 5 in the NFL in terms of roster talent. Cleveland's got some talent, and I think that they will flex their muscles against the Falcons in Atlanta. And then everyone's talking about the injuries to the Chargers with good reason, but as long as Herbert's playing and Mike Williams is out there, they'll be able to pass the ball on the Texans. And with Dameon Pierce and Davis Mills, who's been better at home, I think they'll be able to take advantage of some of those injuries on the Chargers defense. I like that game to go over 44.5 over at Bet Rivers.
Thanks so much, Danny. Jerome, it is time to get into it. The Steelers, a favorite for the first time this year, 3.5 points over the Jets. Your thoughts on this one?
Well, I like the Steelers in this football game, especially if the Jets are going to go with Zach Wilson. Their second-year quarterback. He just doesn't have the experience, and so I think that the Steelers can really confuse him a little bit with that 3-4. He's not seeing it that much. A little more blitzing in the packages. I think they can take advantage of it, and I think the Steelers can win this one.
And even without TJ Watt, you expect the defense to do really well against a quarterback with inexperience like Wilson has.
I do.
Well, this is one of the ones where all three of us agree. We all have the Steelers to win and to cover. Now, another big game.
BetMGM Steelers Kickoff is presented by Chevrolet. Chevrolet, find new roads.
All right, we're back here at Acrisure Stadium. Steelers and Jets, 1 p.m. kickoff. Steelers need this one before they head to Buffalo and then Tampa at home. 2 more road games to Miami and Philadelphia. Time for the predictions. So, Rich Walsh, we'll start with you. How do you see this game playing out today?
All right, guys, I'm going back with the Steelers today. I think they win this by 3. It won't be easy, especially with the field conditions right now. Pitt played here last night. It rained during that game. It rained all night. The field is not great at all. I think it'll be a low-scoring game. The field kind of looks like a driving range with a bunch of sanded divots. I walked the perimeters, not bad. The middle of the field is worse. I think the Steelers win this one 20-17, but it could be much lower.
You never take divots, Rich, so it's not what you're used to. But, Charlie, what do you think?
Hey, I'm looking at that field today, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be a grudge match for sure. We're going to see who controls the line of scrimmage. But I do give the advantage to the Steelers after have them winning this game 17-13 tonight.
All right, Jerry Dulac agrees with the sentiment. The Steelers will win 23-14. I say Steelers 26-19, man.
This is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The New York Jets have come to town to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Jets at 1-2. The Steelers at 1 and Kenny Pickett.
It's finally happening, people. It's finally happening.
Making his first appearance.
Kenny Pickett's coming into the game.
7 of 13, 84 yards, and an interception in the first half. Kenny Pickett, 20th overall, drafted by the Steelers. 12,303 yards. The #1 passing yardage leader of all time at the University of Pittsburgh.
Well, before we get to the positives, let's state the freaking obvious. The Steelers should not have lost to the Jets. And I said that at the beginning. I said that before. This should have been a game that they should have easily won, but not the Steelers. This is usually that game where it's a trap game. They think they can go in there and win it easily, and then that happens. Well, I mean, I did predict the Jets would win, and that's exactly why I picked them, because this was exactly the type of game the Steelers are known to lose, and this is and it shows right there. When they were up 10-0 at the start of the game, it was just like, okay, we know how this is going to end. And it looked like it was going to be that way, of course, because Mitch Trubisky was still in there, Mike Tomlin still being a stubborn jackass and just letting him continue to try to boost this offense when clearly nothing was happening. But then they got that field goal at the end of the half. It was 10-6, and then Kenny Pickett came out, and hallelujah, Christmas miracle! Like, you finally have an offense that looked balanced, that looked like they were amped up. The defense looked a lot better once he came into the game. But even then, he still had his bad moments to him. There was it's like, I'm so sick and tired of the tipped interceptions. Like, that's something that's just like, every single time is like every interception they've had this season up to that point was a tipped interception. It's just like it's frustrating. But I mean, as great as Kenny Pickett was when he was in the game, he still made a lot of critical rookie mistakes, and none bigger than under 4 minutes left tries to get one a Pat Fryer move, and then all of a sudden Michael Carter's there with the interception, and then that just led the Jets to drive down the field and get the touchdown. At that point, it's just like, I know they had one timeout left, but the Steelers did, but why did you stop the clock and then let them score? And then you could get down the field. It doesn't make any sense, but yeah, I mean, like I said before, like, this was the game this is what the Steelers should have been playing like all season long with Mitch Trubisky, but they didn't do that. And once Kenny Pickett came into the game, the whole team just turned around. Like, there was a spark there. And that's something that they could use later on down the road. But this team is now 1-3. And you know what the next 4 games are? At Buffalo, which they won today against Baltimore. I guess that's a good thing for the Steelers. Every AFC North team except for the Bengals lost this weekend. So you have at Buffalo next week. Then Tampa Bay comes to town, which Tampa Bay, like even as bad, even as not as good as they've been playing since Tom Brady came there, he could still come in here and just destroy the Steelers easily at Miami, because we still don't know what Tua's condition's going to be at that point. And then versus Philadelphia, which is an undefeated team, and the Steelers have not won in Philadelphia in almost 60 years. This team is literally going to be 1-7 by the time October is over, and that's just depressing to think about. Like, that's why they needed to win those critical 4 games at the beginning of the season. Like, you should like the Steelers should have got into Cincinnati, which the Steelers did go into Cincinnati and beat them. You should have been able to beat a Mac Jones-led Patriots team that looked terrible in the week 1. You should have been able to beat a Browns team, but you didn't do that. You trusted too much in Matt Canada and Mitch Trubisky, and it bit you in the ass big time. And now you're sitting here at 1-3, and I mean, I guess the positive is that Kenny Pickett now, at this point, he's the starter from here on out. But what good does that do now when you have this brutal 4-game stretch heading into the bye week? Minka Fitzpatrick got injured. He came back in the game. Cam Hayward got injured. Came back in the game. This defense is banged up. T.J. Watt is still weeks away from returning to the football field. Like I said, this team's going to be 1-7 by the time November comes around. And by that point, what the heck? Had something on my mouth there for a second. But at that point, what kind of changes are there going to be personnel-wise? Because I highly doubt Mike Tomlin's job security is perfect right now, especially with the way this team has been really been terrible the last 3 weeks. And then finally, up until Kenny Pickett came into the game, there's a good chance the season's already over at this point. I mean, maybe when they come back for the bye week and everybody's healthy again, maybe they could do like something what the Miami Dolphins did. But at the same time, man, like, it still baffles me that the Jets came in there and just completely embarrassed this team. Like, this is the second day in a row where a team that should have lost in Pittsburgh goes in there and just dismantles a team, just like that happened yesterday with Georgia Tech. Because heaven forbid if Georgia Tech has an interim head coach and he doesn't win a game, because that needs to happen. And then this game, because Zach Wilson is back, and now everybody gets to see that Zach Wilson is actually legitimate. Because heaven forbid if the Steelers needing to win to get back at 500 is a much more important story than watching Zach Wilson come into here and beat the. It's frustrating, and I think a lot of people can agree with me that is a frustrating way to go out, especially with the way that game ended. Like, you really should have just let them score and then just save get more time there, and they didn't do that. So that's where we're at right now, unfortunately. And like I said before, there's a real good chance this team ends up being 1-7 by the time November comes around. And at that point, I think changes should be made by that point. Whether it's coaches getting fired, something moving around on the offensive or the defensive front, just something needs to happen because it's going to be a very ugly October. I just know it's going to be so. So there you have it. Jets walk into Pittsburgh and get a win, even though they shouldn't have won it, but it's just the way this season has been going, and it's not going to get any better anytime soon. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next week for Buffalo. Should be fun.